Start video transmission. All right, looks like we're live. Welcome, everybody, to Gab Hominem, whether you're listening live or listening after the fact. I am very happy to have two new guests on the show. I have been pretty excited for talking with both of them for quite a while now, so not really sure what else to say. Daria Cohen and Miss Mina, both of you, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Yep.
It's been a fun little, I guess, journey getting to this point. Is like just the first time doing this episode is with a couple of voice actors, and that was before it was even actually called Gab Hominem. And at some point, it led to me talking with a couple other guests that I eventually got onto the show. One of them pulled me into this friend group where I basically met another mutual friend there. Mina, I think you know Montclair?
Yeah.
Yeah, we both know him.
Yeah, one of my admins.
And Claire has been just a complete sweetheart from the moment I met her, and it's been so fun. And the moment that I've mentioned that you two are going to be getting onto this show for an interview, they were insanely excited.
I'm not surprised. That's
Yeah,
definitely
actually.
what she's like. She pitches my content pretty much as much as
Is
she
she
can.
is she in the chat right now?
Yeah, she is actually.
She's in the chat.
Okay. Hi.
Hello.
And so for me, it was a little nerve-wracking, I guess, partly because Daria, you had worked on the Vampire series, and I've been seeing that well before I knew about any other indie animation projects.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I can't even remember when did the night drop your fan animation for it?
Well, it dropped in 2017, I think, but I didn't catch up until 20. Actually, no, it was dropped in 2016, but I didn't catch up until like 2017, 2018. Like it was just like sitting there on YouTube for like a good year before somebody noticed it.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I think I remember somebody shared it on Facebook way back when, and it caught my attention being so, I guess, I'm not sure, like it carried a kind of energy that I really enjoy. Like I'm a huge fan of punk rock and ska, right? Very high energy music, like people mosh to it. It's like just this last Thursday I went to see a band called Streetlight Manifesto. Their mosh pit, the space in front of the stage, not a very big space, jam-packed with people trying to mosh, which was very difficult.
we would hate that. Me and Daria
Yeah,
hate that. That's like our idea of hell.
And with everybody trying to mosh in that little space, there was just almost no room for anyone to move. Whenever there was any kind of like, people actually moving around, it was getting everybody up against the barricades in front of the stage, just slammed into it. I had been there once. It's intense, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, we'd hate that.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's been other things that have come out with the Vampire, like Zombie Prostitute, right?
Yeah. Everyone's favorite clip, yeah.
Yeah. Everyone there was a few parts in that episode where there's like during the song there were some brass parts like trumpets and such, and I went, this sounds very much like the kind of ska that I listen to.
Oh, I never even thought about Voltaire's music being ska, actually. I don't think even he calls it that.
I don't think he would. It is a genre thing, but it reminds me of it because of the brass being a part of that like high energy, kind of intense, like fast paced kind of music. That's the part where it makes me think of ska, at least punk ska anyway. But at that point, I'd been following it for a while to the point where Raised by Bats just dropped a few days ago. And I've been so busy with everything else that I couldn't even realize. I didn't even realize until like 2 days after the fact. Oh yeah, that video's out. I should watch it.
Oh yeah, as long as YouTube doesn't forget to send notification, then it's all good. And
then also in talking about this episode with Claire, Daria, you actually wanted to have Mina come onto the show as well, And
Mhm.
Claire linked me to there was a couple of things that Claire linked me to. One of them, I can't remember the other, but one of them was what was it, Mermicide?
Yeah, it's my novel
Yes.
Mermaids.
Yeah, and if I, not being able to get very far into it, is it straight up just like people killing mermaids or mermaids killing mermaids?
No, okay, so it's an LGBT plus dark fantasy novel. It's a story set in a fictional nation called Illyria, in which mermaids are commonplace. They're a local species and they're generally disliked by the public because they're pretty ravenous, they're dangerous, and they're one of the main causes of death in the area. And death by mermaid is called mermicide. So, not
Oh.
you killing a mermaid, them killing you. And essentially, the story is about an Illyrian girl called Piper who gets infatuated with one of these mermaids, Astrid. And it follows their very unhealthy romance and some dark stuff going on in the Illyrian government. And, that's the general basis of this novel.
Gotcha. Yeah, being a fan of Warhammer 40k, dark settings and stories kind of I can definitely appreciate them.
Yeah, it's definitely very dark, I'd say, like massive trigger warning for many different triggers. But I think that's what draws so many people towards it. It has a fan base because it is dark. It's not afraid to go to those places that other novels really aren't.
Right, and that's my personal opinion is that it's actually like a more or less a good thing that such stories are actually being like talked about, written, and put out there. Because it, at least as far as I like see things working, it's sort of a way to, I guess, expose people to those kinds of ideas.
Yeah.
And just being able to adjust to them.
Because it's a problem because a lot of people are afraid to write about dark things, about these unhealthy relationships, because they feel like people are going to make a scene, people are going to make a fuss, they're going to be cancelled for it. But the thing is, if nobody writes about these things, then nobody's going to know about these things. Nobody's going to be aware of these things. We can't just hide these things from the public. They do exist and they have to be written about. There has to be a story. We can't just pull the wool over everyone's eyes and only write good stories with good relationships and good endings.
So there has to be a real separation between what the author thinks about stuff like that in reality and what's it like portraying those in fiction.
Yeah, and Daria has the same situation with Vampire, like with Duke's behavior.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they're obviously
Like, oh, he's a bad character. Like, she shouldn't be with him.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, she doesn't think he's.
I don't promote this kind of behavior in like real life.
Yes, but it's a story. You know, the characters, they're not good. They're not good characters.
It's like you need conflict, you know.
Yeah.
Conflict has actually been sort of an interesting. It's not the first time that the idea of conflict has came up in a show, although it's sort of got like a multifaceted, or it's got multiple meanings. You know, like one of the other guests that I've had on here, he was the guy who worked with Metallica in the early 2000s when they were basically on the brink of imploding on themselves. And a lot of what I talked about with him was about conflict between like people and people in groups, especially for bands. And there was a lot that I had learned from that. But when we come to things like storytelling, with the Vampire series, or Mermicide or anything else that Mina has written, conflict is sort of an important like aspect or element of storytelling. There's got to be something that makes a story interesting, and depending on the style of writing, maybe something you're supposed to learn from the story that's put out there.
It's like I'm always saying, keep your conflicts to your stories and take them out of reality, put them in stories instead.
That's always got to be one of the fun parts about storytelling, is trying to write something that isn't entirely based in reality, because it is fiction, it is fantasy. It's not supposed to be a direct like it's not a biography. You're not directly telling something horrible that happened. You're using a medium of fiction to tell a story as like a metaphorical.
Yeah.
how often do you find it difficult, or let me rephrase that actually. How difficult is it to be able to keep things sort of in that fictional like realm, like keeping reality separate from fiction without it being entirely like separated from, I guess, common sense or something meaningful?
I think we can both say that we use a bunch of elements from our everyday life and we put them in our stories after they've been transfiguratively moved into like becoming something else. Like now they're like metaphors in the stories, but it comes from like our personal lives.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's some elements like that in Vampire, there's some elements like that in Threnody, and there's some elements like that in Mermaids. So it definitely, like, mental health experiences, situations in our life, and they are definitely in the stories, just in a metaphorical way.
Yeah, they're still like a part of the story, but they definitely
Yeah.
come from something that we've been through.
Yeah. Usually turned into a character or into a scene, but it is an experience turned into that. Like, I have a character literally named Summer because she is a metaphor for a summer of my life. And her behavior is, her actions, the things she does are that summer of my life. But she metaphorically does these actions. She lets a character free that is bad because that summer of my life was when a bad thing happened to me, thus it was let free. So that's there's some things like that in Vampire as well.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much like spoilers or anything, but the next episode is gonna be very meta, like to my life, basically.
Yeah, very, very, very.
That is another interesting part about storytelling, is getting to that resolution of whatever story is being told. The thing, like, depending on how you feel about J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter has always been one of my favorite stories, and the whole thing.
Yeah, I can't relate with that.
Yeah. For me, it's at least separating the art from the artist type of thing. But either way, it's sort of like this kid was almost set up for failure from the start, and I mean like literally from the start. His, spoiler warnings for anyone who hasn't seen the story that's been around for more than 10 years. His parents were killed when he was an infant, and his adoptive family not the greatest to him until something that was supposed to come his way eventually did, and it led to so much just bullshit happening from book 1 to book 7, and it escalated to the point where it's like, if any other person were in a position like his, that person probably would have been completely broken by book 5, possibly even book 4.
We had that talk about Mirabel's character in Encanto.
Yeah, we did.
I've had to actually see that movie myself. I've seen memes, I've seen some clips, but I have not yet seen the whole movie myself.
Oh, you're missing out.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. There's some good storytelling there, but also some bad storytelling at the end, because
it's Disney, so everything has to wrap up real nicely at the end.
Yeah, like I was saying about Mermaid, relationships are like fixed when they shouldn't be. There should be mental anguish, there should be damage. It should be
they couldn't do that in Disney, so
yeah, but you know what I mean. It should be a long-term, like, getting better, getting to build this relationship again, instead of just instantly being like, everything's okay, everything's fine. But the story in general, I'd say what they had, the time they had to work with, the plot they had to work with, the characters, they're all great. So I definitely recommend it.
All right. Yeah, there's, with a number of these different Disney movies I haven't seen, like, there's Encanto, what was it? I haven't seen Moana. Even though I hear
I don't even remember Moana that well. It's been a while.
I hear the music is really good.
And all that.
They did something similar in Turning Red, though. Like what they did in Encanto about family connections and how to handle family intergeneration trauma and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's things about Disney that are fun to watch, but it's if I want to get sort of a, I don't know, in my opinion, more fulfilling stories tend to have come out of DreamWorks.
Well, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's like Disney have to market themselves to the mainstream, so they can't really go full out like with their storytelling because they still have to
Yeah.
make money.
Yeah, I mean, they still have to make money. They make tons of
Yeah,
it.
I was
but
gonna say they don't need more.
but it's
Oh, they always need more.
but it's in that regard, it is about keeping themselves relevant. If they stopped making things that are more geared towards, the younger audiences, then they very much, I guess, narrow the demographics that they start selling to, which is suddenly, as much as they're doing now, a lot of it may have to go. Like, I don't know how many different parks they operate, but I'm guessing some of it will be like, possibly downsized if they start, fading away. Not that
But they made some dumb decisions recently.
I mean,
Yeah, they
dumb
have.
decisions always happen with companies, especially at that size.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I, in my opinion, I get more fulfilling stories out of DreamWorks and Disney in regards to like things that I can actually learn from. Like the closest I've gotten to Disney was The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and the
Right.
reason that's one of my favorite movies is because it gets as dark as it does. It is the darkest Disney movie
It
I can
does.
think of.
It does. It does get dark.
Oh yeah,
Like I just won't rely on Disney that much for like dark storytelling.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Because it's nice when it happens, but it's there's a glass ceiling Disney couldn't possibly
Yeah.
go past it. I don't think DreamWorks can do that either because they also market for the mainstream. Like if you really want to find some real nice like non-committing, non-like apologetic anything, you have to go for indie stuff.
Yeah, it's for me seeing Disney is like Disney is geared more focused towards the younger audiences, whereas DreamWorks tends to be, at least as far as I've seen, a bit more broad in who they try to appeal to. Now that doesn't mean they don't have very kid-friendly movies. Like as great as the storytelling is, Kung Fu Panda and How to Train Your Dragon, they do still seem a bit geared towards the at least a little more geared towards younger audiences than most adult audiences. Not that it doesn't,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
it's like trying to keep that idea in mind. Does it make you nervous seeing younger audiences, or maybe particular audiences that you weren't exactly expecting to get to with your stories, getting into your stories? Like, especially
Yep.
as of late on Twitter, a lot of digital artists will be making accounts and they're saying my content is absolutely not for anyone under the age of 18. Does that kind of idea like set on your mind at any point when you're making your stories, whether you're writing them, animating them, whatever it is?
Well,
Daria, do you
I
wanna go?
already encountered that like multiple times. Like sometimes people send me pictures of them taking pictures of the children, like the infants watching the night, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think they should be watching that. Like I won't say. I think the target audience is anyone over the age of say like I don't know 14, 15. I think that's the age where you can like start handling that kind of I wouldn't call it humor. It's like a black comedy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I wouldn't say it's my responsibility to like make sure kids don't watch my content.
Right.
Because it's like it's out there. So it really depends on like which household you're coming from. Because I'm sure some families wouldn't want their 16-year-olds to watch that either.
I've seen some households where they don't even want their adults, offspring watching things like that.
And then there's like households like I watched Akira when I was 8 years old. So
I'm sorry, you watched the what?
Akira.
Akira. Oh, I have not actually seen that myself.
It's messed up. So I shouldn't have watched it when I was 8 years old, but my dad was watching it and my siblings were watching it, so I'm like, yeah, sure, I'd watch that. And then I was traumatized for life, but it's fine because it gave me ideas.
Let's see. That's actually going to be another interesting question. Akira is one thing that kind of gave you ideas, as you just said. What inspirations have you both had, maybe growing up or even recent, that led to a lot of these stories that you have made?
Okay, well, I'll go first there. So, for Mermicide, I had this dream in 2015. I had this dream about a floating town in the middle of the sea, similar to Venice, and it was so vivid and so real. I could feel the salt on my skin and the rain. I could smell the brine, and I knew I had to write about it. And I actually had this girl that I was crushing on at the time, called Amber, and she wrote me these little fanfics on a website called Quotive, which is pretty dead now, but back in the day it was pretty popular. And I thought, oh, I'm going to write her a story. And I did, and it ended up being a full novel where she was like the main character, but the worst version of her. And I was the secondary character, but the worst version of me. And that's how Mermicide came about. That's what inspired it. And Threnody, I suppose Daria inspired me because I watched the night I became friends with her, and I wanted to make original characters for her series, and I wanted to celebrate the anniversary of us meeting. So I made the first Threnody song. And I asked her if I could make backstory for her series, and she said yes. And so then I created a whole story just to go with a story I was a fan of, basically. So that's the ultimate dream, to be a fan of a series and to befriend the creator, and then to get your characters in their series, like officially connected to that series. So that's, I guess, what's inspired me. Daria?
So what inspired me is, I don't know, I guess I could say Voltaire's music, because I've been listening it for like since I was 16, basically, and The Night has always been my favorite song. So originally, it wasn't meant to be an ongoing series. It was just meant to be a standalone, being The Night, being my final project for college, and that's it. And it was meant to be with other characters portraying Duke and Missy. It was like something from a comic series I've done when I was a kid, and it was like two other characters from there. But since I was making something for my college, it couldn't be this out of context. So I was like, okay, I need to, the whole song is all gothic, so it needs to have gothic characters, and then I made about vampires because it's called The Night. That's pretty much it. I don't really have a life-changing story behind it. Just like, well, that was my favorite song. I'm gonna make a clip for it, and that's it.
It's always got to be fun when music makes such a huge inspiration on it. Like, it's, for me, music has done the same thing, but closer to Mina's like larger means of craft of writing. Yeah, because back in, I think I was in middle school at the time. My family and I were driving up to this cabin up in the mountains to, just spend a weekend up at this in the snow. And we passed by this giant field of rocks, and of course my overactive imagination at the time, I'm going like, what if there's a cave in one of those rocks? I'm supposed to find someone for this great prophecy and all this. And at some point I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to write a screenplay for my school to do this. Now, that didn't go anywhere. I did not know at all how to write a stage script. So I just settled on trying to write a basic, like, novel series around it. And when I got it done, I decided, I'm gonna see, I think this might go into like 6, 7 parts, and I'm on 6 now, but I haven't picked it up in like 3 years, probably closer to 5 now. But as I eventually decided, I'm just gonna sit down and plan out how this whole thing is gonna go. I was getting more and more into music, and at some point, and sometime in the last 10 years, I actually set up this little playlist of very specific songs that basically shows how I want the whole thing to end. And I found a couple more songs since that have gotten into that playlist, but it's still like getting the idea of what that final like finale is supposed to look like in my mind. Eventually it'll manifest into being written out once I have the energy for it again.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the efforts of publishing a book.
Yeah, that's.
Don't even.
I've tried. I've emailed a publishing company once, with a short sample of the story that I had written at the time, and they had responded with, "It's not the kind of material we're looking for at the time," and it's sort of like half given up at the time. That it's also like I just didn't have the time to keep trying to pursue it.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how to go from there.
At this point, it's just a matter of self-publishing, not relying on publishers to do it for you, because otherwise you're sending emails, so many emails, and you're sharing profit. You're just letting yourself down at this point by waiting for a publisher and constantly sending manuscripts. It's really, nowadays, it's all about self-publishing. You just get it out there as soon as it's formatted. Formatting itself, that's a whole other thing. Formatting takes so long. You need another set of eyes. You can't do it yourself. You have to do it a special way. You have to have the pages indented a certain amount, depending on how many pages of the book you have. It has to look specific. There's requirements. And if you don't meet these requirements, you're not getting your book made. You have to meet the requirements. And I mean, it's even down to the cover of the book. It has to be a certain width. So, because obviously when you design the book, the width of the book matters. So the spine has to be a certain amount. It has to be a certain amount of centimeters or whatever. And if it's 1 or like 1 centimeter over that, nope, not getting it done. The amount of times me and Daria made
the amount of like
yes,
tries doing the cover images like so many times. It's still all in the drive.
Yeah, over and over and over, making the cover for Mermaids, because Mermaids has 3 variations. It has the Kindle variation. We don't need a cover for that. It has the paperback version with the black and white, which has some illustrations, which is very thick. So the cover had to have a big spine. And then we have the illustrated version, which is full color. It's very big, but not as thick. So it has to be thinner spine. And oh gosh, the amount of times we had to do this to meet these requirements. It's all these numbers and math and getting
and we both hate them.
Measurements. Yeah.
Like I had to print 1 book for 1 college assignment, and I didn't even have to write it. Like I got a written story, and all I had to do was illustrate the all the drawings for that book and do the cover and print it and everything. And I was like, that's the last time I'm ever dealing with print ever again.
It's so much effort.
It's just terrible.
The formatting, like, because, you know, when you pick up a book, you look at it, it has page numbers, it has a certain font, certain size font, the pages are indented a certain amount. You don't think about these things until you've written a book, you have a manuscript, and then suddenly you have to format it in a specific way. It has to look a specific way, and every page has to look a specific way, and then you're like, wait a minute, I didn't think that I have to do this, but now I do. Like, you think, oh, I have to write a book, now I have to edit it, then I publish it. You don't think there's this formatting step, but there is.
Then everything has to move around to fit the format.
Mm-hmm.
That does make me wonder, are these requirements of formatting different between different publishers?
They're pretty much, it tends to be the same. If you go with a publishing company, they usually do formatting for you. So they'll do it according to their requirements. You don't have to worry about it. You have to pay for it, and you're sharing a huge cut of your profits for them to do it. But if you self-publish like me, then you have to do this yourself, and you have to like see what requirements.
You can pay someone to do it.
Yeah, or you can pay someone to do it. Usually you have these bases that you have to go into, like it depends on the size of your book, because there's different sizes that books have to be, that you can't do a different size of this, or you can't get it like made, because they have to do these specific measurements of the book sizes. So you have to use the base of their format and then put your book into it page by page, essentially. And, you know, make sure that they all have page numbers, they all have the right amount of measurements on either side of the text, and it has to have, like, you know, the title of the book on the top of every page and all of that. And there's obviously, like, the start of the book has to have acknowledgements and you know, like the little pages before the book actually starts. It has to have all those and everything. It's you go through it when you go after writing a book.
Oh, man, I gotta... I have another question, but we actually have a question from one of the audience members. It's actually from Claire. Wanted to ask what drives you guys to make content, or even what your favorite piece of media is that you've made and why.
Oh, just boredom. No, actually it's more complicated than that. But it's like, well, when you're an artist, you do that because you legit enjoy doing that.
Yeah, I'd say it's the same as me. Like, I kind of just like writing, I like making music, and I like making stories. And so that's what I do, and I especially like the fans' reactions to it. I like the fan art they make and the fanfics, and I like interacting with my audience and making them happy, and having people message me going, "This music changed my life, Threnody changed my life, it's my favorite thing in the world." And, you know, then I want to make it for them. So...
you guys have made quite a bit of story, or have made quite a bit of storytelling. That's fantastic Englishing there, Andrew. You guys have made a fair amount of content with you know, Mina. You've done. Is it mostly writing that you do, Mina?
I mean, I'm a singer-songwriter. I make Threnody on YouTube, which is, I don't know if you know about it. It's the prequel to Vampire.
Okay.
And yeah, it's essentially the prequel to Vampire. It's an ongoing series on YouTube.
It's like they're both standalone, but also it's like connected.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're standalone but connected. It's basically very in the past from Vampire, but there are some characters that cross over.
Yeah, there's some like stuff that like will show in both series.
Yeah, like in the latest Vampire, you see Duke's sire with the blonde hair, and he like drags his hand down his face, and he's like, "Oh, why is Duke like this?" And that's a character from Threnody that kind of crosses over.
Technically, I made him, but then he shows up in Threnody first.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, you see him in Threnody first, and then he turns up in Vampire. And there's some other characters that are going to cross over later, but can't really talk about it. But Threnody is basically this ongoing series on YouTube with mental health awareness at its core. And it mainly focuses on grief and the ways people deal with it. And it's actually the first of its kind, really. I haven't even seen any other storybook-style musical things on YouTube, so I think I pioneered that. It's basically just a musical, I guess, except I sing all the parts. And it has its own little fandom. And it's connected to Vampire. And so I'd say, yeah, that's like the main thing I do. That's what I'm mainly known for. And Mermaids is kind of like a side thing that not as many people know, but it's more important.
But you've worked on it for like way longer.
Yeah, I spent years of my life on it, so I care more about Mermaids, but I'm known for Threnody.
Gotcha. Okay. Now having talked with animators and people, like I've talked with writers, sound designers, animators, people who've worked basically in most, if not all, of the major positions of making a thing in animation, you know, an episode of something, whatever it could be. And one of the things that came across, at least in regards to animation, is that it's a very, very time-consuming process.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work to make an episode. Like, I can't remember. There was an animator I talked with who said that it takes an insane amount of hours to put together, I think it was like just a minute of animation.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I wanted to ask of both of you is, what do you find to be the biggest difficulties of what you do? Singing, animation, writing, whatever it could be.
Daria, do you want to go?
Like in my case, it's gonna sound kind of stupid, but in my case, it's always backgrounds. Like I hate doing backgrounds, despite the fact they always take the least amount of work. Like I always get through them the fastest. Well, I guess cleanup is also kind of like annoying, but like it's not hard doing that.
Yeah, you're getting some people to help with.
Like cleanup. The problem with cleanup is that it's really time consuming, and I know like people are waiting for the next episode, but it's like, well, I can't get to work on the next animation because I gotta finish this cleanup first. And that's why I got like assistants for Ways by Bats to do it for me, so that saved a lot of time. Like a couple of months work off my back.
I'd say the hardest thing for me is waiting for people, because with my songs, I don't do the art for the songs. I write the songs, I write the music, and I write it alongside my producer, but I don't do the art. Like, I design all the characters and do the storyboards with Daria of what I want to see, but I don't do the art. And my artist Alyssa does the art. Yeah, my artist Alyssa does the art, and I have to tell her kind of what to do. And now we have an assistant to help her that's doing the coloring. We only just got it. But even so, I finish a song and I'm ready. I've done the storyboards. I'm ready to see it. But then I have to wait for Alyssa to do all the art. And obviously there's like 14 frames every Threnody. And I have to wait for them to be drawn. I have to wait for them to be colored. And I'm like, come on. Can we get it out already? And it happens with Mermaids as well, because my advice for like writing a book, for being a writer, is that never do it by yourself. It's not a solitary act. The writing you do alone, but the editing, formatting, pitching, publishing, advertising, you need someone to help you. And you need a different set of eyes on your work. And again, you have to wait for people to do this. If you give someone a book, they're not going to read it instantly. It's going to take time to read a book. I'm sitting there and I'm like, come on, like, read my book. Like, I need to know your thoughts. I can't continue. I can't proceed. And I've had so many people in the past that have, I've worked with them and they've let me down, and Daria has the same problem. Because
not as much as you, because I still do most of the work myself. Like, my biggest issue is just like they take so long, because I have to do it myself.
I don't just mean in Vampire, I mean in life. Like,
well, okay, that's...
Yeah, me and Daria, we get stuff done really fast. That's the type of people we are. We like getting stuff out of the way. And we found that a lot of other people are procrastinators. We are not.
It's just like the default human existence is being a procrastinator.
Default setting is procrastination. We are not. We want to get stuff done.
Yeah, they always like talk about us like, well, wow, you guys are like magical creatures who don't procrastinate. It's like, no, it's just normal for us. We get like panicky when we start like putting things off.
Yeah, and so that's definitely the hardest thing for me, is waiting for people and needing to rely on people for making my art, because I find it so stressful. Like, insanely stressful. I do what I need to get done, and then I'm waiting on other people. And it's I think it's like my biggest pet peeve is people saying they're going to do something for me and not doing it. I have so many traumas related to it. So many artists that have dropped out on me, and it's just too much. But yeah, to answer your question, that's what it is.
Oh,
yeah, the worst thing about me is just it takes me too long to make everything. Like, I would have released the episodes every month because I know everything that needs to come out. I know everything I need to do. I just gotta do it, and it's a lot of time.
Yeah, with animation being so time consuming, I almost expect an animation to take a long time. But with what I have seen in the gaming community, when a game is delayed, right? The fans of that game that's supposed to be coming out, they're all hyped up by all the advertisement and everything coming out for it, but then they'll follow it themselves and they'll discuss among themselves, but then when something is announced that it's being delayed, they get whipped into a fucking frenzy.
It happens. So it happens with
we're actually kind of lucky with our fandoms. They're very accepting. They're like very supporting. They're like, take all the time you need. We know how hard it is. Like, other fandoms are just like crazy trash piles.
Daria has those. See, I don't have them. I'm not big enough yet, but Daria has certain people that as soon as she posts something, they'll comment, "Where's the next episode?" She just
it's coming out tomorrow.
She just posted one. Like, there's literally a comment like on your latest video promoting your merch. There's a comment going, "When's the next episode?"
Yeah, why are you making other videos? Go back to make the next time.
Literally, like, but yeah, in general, our fans are pretty patient. They usually like take your time, take all the time you need, and they're still like, the fandom is still there when the stuff is out, which is good. That's good.
Yeah, especially, the has-been and Hell of a Boss fans are way less patient.
Oh, completely, like, different world over there.
Yeah, they get so like hostile. It's like, goddamn.
It's terrifying. I have seen it in the fan communities of other animations, and it is like, what the hell am I getting into?
I hate it. I'm really lucky that my fandom is so supportive, so kind. I think a big part of it is because my work centers around mental health, both Mermicide and Threnody. And so people that are fans of my content also deal with mental health stuff, and they're all very supportive of each other. And I think because of that, they're all very I'd say we're all friends. Like, we're all friends. They all understand how long
It's
it
like
takes.
a small, tight community.
No, very small, tight-knit community of people that are very they like each other, they're nice to each other, and there's no hostility, which I'm so glad about. I couldn't stand it if my fandom was completely toxic. I hate it. It would just ruin my life.
It's the kind of thing that makes me dread, like, getting really big, because then the bigger you get, the more you have to deal with these kind of, like, issues. Like, smaller fandoms usually don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a little, I guess, easier, because I've talked to fandoms from huge, animation projects, and, the people who, I'm talking, like, community admins here. People who have admin for huge fan communities, and people who have admin for much smaller ones. And the difference, as far as I've seen, it's almost night and day. It's mind-boggling sometimes.
Definitely.
Another question.
Yeah, so we're just like very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, very lucky.
Very. Another question from Blurry. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this one right. Blurry Ansuke, or
yes,
Ansuke. It's hard to tell sometimes because Romanized Japanese.
We just call them Blurry.
Blurry.
Yeah.
Because with how often I see Romanized Japanese, it's almost the only thing I ever see. So if it happens to be another language, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to get that one wrong. Just assuming.
Yeah.
Blurry asks, what are the favorite episodes that you guys have made from your series?
Do you want to answer that first?
Oh, I think my favorite Threnody is probably, like, story-wise, I'd say 9. Music, actually, probably 9 mixed with 6. But I think maybe my favorite Threnody hasn't actually come out yet. It's Threnody 11, and I don't think it's come out yet. I just made it. I just wrote the song. And
I'm biased though, but like I
love that. Daria also really likes it, and I'd say that's probably my favorite Threnody. So it hasn't even been released, but otherwise 9 and 6.
I guess in my case, it's like, it's not sound really surprising, but my favorite is probably Land of the Dead, because it's like on the same level as the night, but also I had as much time as I wanted. What do you know?
It's not. How can you like that one the best? I'm just baffled.
Because it's like, I'm telling you.
Seriously, when the silent exists, like.
Well, the Silent and Land of the Dead are pretty much tied, but like I was like in a really bad place when I was making the Silent, so a lot of the making of it, I'm like, God, it sucks. It's gonna suck. It's like everything about it is bad. But actually, it turns out really good. So it's like, actually, no, I like it now. But Land of the Dead was like the first one I got to do exactly what I wanted for as long as it took like a year to make a 2-minute long video. And it's like, it has all this like extra stuff happening in it. And I have fond memories of that one, but I get why it's not going to be other people's favorite episode, because it's kind of random and has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
I've seen Land of the Dead. I haven't seen it in a while. Because I haven't done a day to go and rewatch the entire Vampire series, so I vaguely remember Land of the Dead, but I do remember it. I almost feel like there's I don't know how to put it. I guess the only way I can really describe it is like, it seems like a particular color or shade of a certain color is like almost a theme in the different episodes.
Yeah, each episode has like a different theme.
Yeah.
Actually, I made a design bible for the series, because every time there's like a stylistic choice, it's for a reason. It has like a logical reason behind it. So like, for example, a lot of people didn't realize that the fact that each character has different colored outlines is for a reason. because I could have made it just black, like everybody just has normal black outlines. But then I'm like, I can tell more story if I give each of them a different outline color. Like it starts being a storytelling device.
Right. Different things have always been very fun to look at. Actually, that just kind of put another thought in my head, where people will look at a video and look for all of those really tiny little details of something that kind of sticks out among the episode, and they'll try to read into it a little bit more. Like, let's take for instance the what was the one with Missy in her own song?
The silent.
Yes, that's it.
You? Oh.
Yeah, so this one also has like a stylistic narrative behind
it. Like, I can absolutely see people like pausing on a frame of all the little creatures hiding behind the wall. When she's walking down the hall, she turns and there's nothing there. Turns back and starts walking down. They're all hiding there. Mm-hmm. I can absolutely see people pausing on that frame of looking at all those little creatures hiding and trying to pick out, like, why does this little, I guess, imp or shade or whatever it is have this particular pattern of horns? Or why does this one have this particular pattern of teeth? Why does this one look like this? People will read into those details.
I have like this unwritten rule saying, like, if something appears more than once, then it's important. If it's just something that shows up one time for one song, then it's like, well, I needed something there to fill in the space. But if it happens more than once, then it means something. Because I put it deliberately more than, like, it's a repeat, so it has to be there for a reason.
Right.
And one of them is like, okay, so the reason why stuff become black and white is a narrative device saying whenever the background goes black and white, that means it's all in your head. And that's why the moment she lets go of the cane, the backgrounds become like normal again.
Right.
So even though the whole silent thing happens while Duke is outside singing for like half a minute, meanwhile in the silent, it feels like it's been like hours, and it hasn't been. It's been like the whole thing happens in like a minute, but it's all happening in Missy's head.
Jeez.
And that's why, like, Raised by Bats took so long, was because there was so many details happening because it jumps all over the place. So I was like, okay, I have to really think about every single thing that I'm showing up because everything needs to be there for a reason. Like, I can't just put something and then in a different episode I'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done something else.
Right. How often do you get people messaging either you two or trying to tag you in things like, hey, I just noticed this thing. Is this important to the story or something like that?
It happens a lot on Discord because we have like a Q&A section there.
Mm-hmm.
I have
people have theories about everything.
Yeah, we have like a theories section of the Discord where people just like say their theories, and also like I dabble on Tumblr a lot, and people have a lot of theories on Tumblr where they'll point out stuff that me or Daria have done.
And sometimes they're like,
hey, look at this.
Spot on. They're like, how did I guess that?
Yeah. There's always the occasional person that makes a theory, and I'll screenshot it and send it to Daria and be like, oh my god, like, how do they know?
How did they know?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited for them to see insert.
Yeah, and then like the episode comes out and it's exactly what they said, like, imagine.
Yeah, because there was someone on Tumblr that actually theorized that Duke's sire was going to be Artemis. And this was before the latest Vampire came out, and I screenshot it and sent it to Daria and was like, look, they're going to be so excited, they're going to be so happy, like, I can't wait for the Vampire episode to come out just for this person, just because this is their theory, and they're going to be like, I was right, you know?
It really reminds me of Game of Thrones, where, like, they really cared so much about doing twists and stuff. So whenever the fandom started guessing stuff that's gonna happen, they were like, oh, well, better change it and do something else. And it's like, but you're ruining your story. Like, why would you do that?
No, I actually have a point regarding that, because if fans are guessing your story, good. That means it makes sense.
It sucks for you because you want to do the twist thing, but like, it's good. It's not a bad thing.
It is good. It's a good sign if your fandom is figuring out your story. It means that it makes sense. It means that
Yeah, it means
they
that
can
you've done
understand.
your job foreshadowing
Yeah.
everything.
Okay.
So don't start moving things around. It's good that it makes sense. It's good they understand it.
Yeah, you're gonna lose the gotcha moment, but everything else is gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Let's see. I guess I'll have that kind of go into a slightly related question when it comes to fans. Blurry also asks if you guys like any of the crossovers from fans based on your work.
Well, I like fan walks because it's like I want to see what the fans make of it. Because the moment you put something out into the world, like, and it's public, then it's just as much as everybody else's who watch it, and they can do whatever they want with it. I know some creators don't believe that. Some creators are very protective of their work. But I happen, like, sometimes people send me messages and ask me if it's okay for them to make a fan art of myself. And I'm like, dude, of course it's okay. Why would I say no? I love seeing that.
Yeah. I think it's the same.
Do you... I don't know why I lost track of that. It's a very simple question. How often do you guys see people making their own, like, characters in your settings?
I probably see it more often than Mina does.
Yeah, Daria definitely sees it. I see it on Instagram where people will tag her in it and be like, this is my character from The Vampire, this is my OC. But I think recently I've had a few like OCs made for the Threnody world. Recently. Yeah. But
I'm getting very invested when it happens.
Yeah, I like it more when people make OCs for Mermaids. Like, that's because Mermaids my baby and I care about it more. But yeah, I like it when people.
And sometimes people come up with like really good ideas as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's also got to be fun when people just like really take into the story and like. There's a particular friend Claire and I both have that is just like absolutely taken with Duke, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the type of person that would like casually tease about it, but it at the same time it's like this is a character that they like have become so attached to from basically just from an idea in someone else's head. What kind of feeling does that bring when somebody enjoys your work that much?
That's something I always thought about because I used to have back when I made my comic book series. I used to have a little bit of a following, like it was very small, but then occasionally I would get 1 or 2 fan arts, and I was like getting so excited because in my head it's like you have this entire world of all kinds of creative works of fiction, and you chose my stuff to draw. That's insane. Like out of all the things you could have chosen, like some people do cosplays of my characters. That's like so much work. And it's like you could have chosen a real series, and you chose my stuff.
I was not expecting that. Yeah, because people will latch onto a lot of different things. You know, people.
Yeah.
We all know of several largely well-known animated shows that have either come out recently or have existed long into our, well into our childhoods.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is going on with me today? There's a lot of characters from fictional stories that we have latched onto to that point, but I feel like there's something a little more, I guess, personal when it comes to those smaller things. Like I would definitely say sometimes it's an unhealthy attachment, but usually people won't go there. Yeah.
Because I'd say that sometimes it gets to a point where someone likes a character so much that they become so attached that they don't like anyone else liking this character.
They're starting to feel like they own
that is
them.
when it's bad. That's when it's bad, because then it makes other people that also like that character scared to say anything about the character, openly like that character, because they can't, because it's like, oh, but that's this person's character. I have to choose a different character because that's their character, and everyone knows that's their character. So it can get a bit problematic in that regard. And another time it can get problematic is when people like a character so much that they ignore what the character is actually like, or what the relationships the character in. If they get hateful towards, let's say there's a character that has a partner already and they hate that partner, and then it makes, it will make me feel bad as a creator to know that they hate a character just because they like one character,
Right.
even though the other character's fine, because they're that unhealthily attached to it that they don't let anyone else be involved in that bubble that they think they have with the character. I think it can get a bit unhealthy then. But when it's just like, oh, this is my favorite character, this brings me joy, this is, I simp for this character, then that's fine. It's just, there is definitely a line there.
Yeah, it's like you just definitely need to know that it's like not real.
Right.
It's fun to obsess over a character for fun, like we do that too.
Right.
But it's like there's a point where it's becoming unhealthy.
Yeah, there is a line, and I have seen it crossed in my own fandom before. So that's the last thing. Yeah.
One thing I did want to ask before, because I know you got to be going here in just a couple minutes, Mina. So we got a couple more questions from the audience. Where was it? The meme lover asks, "What's your favorite character design so far from your own projects?"
Mine is definitely from Mermaid. It's definitely Astrid. I love her. She's gorgeous. And from Threnody, I'd say it's probably Briar because she's so iconic. She has an iconic silhouette. Daria tells me she's the best character because she
has such a good color palette.
Yeah. If you see her silhouette of her, you know it's her automatically. And
it's like all the characters in Threnody are very iconic.
Yeah, I'd say for character design, you need to make sure you can see them as a silhouette and be like, that is that character. And that's a good character design. So, yeah.
Daria?
Twins.
Well, I can't say it right now because this character hasn't shown up yet.
Okay.
But I don't know, I feel like I like both of them like equally.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
More hype to build for it. And then the other comes from Blurry. What is it? What do you like and dislike about fanfics of your series?
Pretty much like all of them.
Yeah, I can't think of any fanfic we've read that we didn't like, even the ones that are just completely balls to the walls crazy. It's
just fun to win.
Yeah. I think, I genuinely can't think of anything. I think when it comes to like writing fanfics, just do whatever, man, and we'll probably read it and enjoy it, no matter what you do. So yeah, I can't think of anything we wouldn't like.
And then this last one from Moss Skeleton will kind of go into a question that I usually end an episode with. Once you go, I mean, we'll probably have a couple more, a little bit more chat with Daria, but it'll get to the same idea for her at the end of this interview. Moss Skeleton asks what your favorite parts and least favorite parts of being a creator are.
The best parts is definitely fan creations. Anything to do with the fans, talking with the fans, engaging with the fans, and making them happy. And the worst thing, I'd say there's probably two. One of them is that I have to mask a lot. I have to pretend that I'm feeling fine a lot. Do a lot of streams with Daria where by the end of it, I feel awful. I'm so depressed because I had to be upbeat and happy for so long, and it's just like, it's too much for me to pretend that I'm feeling okay and doing all this social media. And the other thing is that a lot of people know like me, but they don't know anything about me. And I find that difficult as a creator as well. So there's kind of this situation where I have like the online version of me and the real life version of me. And it's like, which one am I being? Well, like, who am I being today? Which version of me? So that's definitely the best and the worst parts.
Okay. Daria?
Oh, waiting for me. Well, I think it's like, the best part is just like making the fans happy with like knowing what I want to do for myself is actually something that makes people happy. But it's also like, the hardest part is just having to make them wait so long and then hoping they'd still stick around for that just because it takes me so long to animate. I don't really worry about my own online persona because I know the fans are mostly attached to the series and not to me personally. So I'm just like vibing as myself, I guess.
All right. Let's see. I mean, I think it's. Yeah. Do you need to get going at this point?
Yeah, I gotta get going. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I do really appreciate you taking the time to get onto the show with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully, I get a chance to talk with you a little bit more in the future.
Oh, for sure. Just let me know.
Definitely. You take care of yourself.
Bye-bye. Love you all. Bye.
It's always fun because like how long is it, like, does Mina help you out at all with working on
Oh yeah, she helped me out because first thing she helps me out writing like phrasing posts sometimes because English is not my my native language, so sometimes my grammar would be a little bit off.
Right.
So I would like consult with her and ask her if everything's fine.
Okay.
And also the streams is just like huge help because I know a lot of people like on Twitch, for example, like a lot of people ask me why I don't make a Twitch account. A lot of people have the capability of keeping an audience and like entertaining an audience for a stream. But I'm just so bad at multitasking. I can't draw and talk and be entertaining at the same time and also read the chat. So it's really helpful to have like someone reliable to be my co-host.
Mm-hmm.
And also the people know Mina, they know like her stuff. So it's like it's all connected, and I think we have good chemistry together on stream, so it keeps everybody entertained.
I definitely agree. It was very. It's always fun when you have multiple people on a guest interview thing like this, because they do work off of each other. Like for me, it helps like fill in some of the silence sometimes. But it's also like when I ask a question and they get into the answer, and then someone else like adds into it, and it starts leading into a whole other like sort of like a semi-side conversation almost.
Yeah.
It sometimes it can get really interesting, and sometimes it could just get really funny.
Yeah, like I'm sure some people are just as fine keeping an audience on their own, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like I watch streams like that of just like solo people, and they can keep a whole conversation with themselves, or like the chat is active enough for them to converse just with that.
Yeah.
I just can't do that. I have like the social anxiety situation. I'm not good on my own.
Yeah, I definitely feel that part. Sometimes it's difficult for me to really keep up with trying to like keep a thought going long enough for it to be entertaining, and it's I end up getting lost in trying to figure out, okay, what am I supposed to say at this point? What am I supposed to do? Things like that. So that actually can kind of lead to another question that I've got. So you've got the main vampire series. Mina has Threnody. Between the episodes coming out, do you find it difficult to, or rather, how difficult do you find it to try to keep the audience's interest in it between those episodes?
It's pretty difficult because it's not a secret that YouTube is like a content treadmill. They want you to post all the time.
Right.
So it's a very hostile platform for animators because not only do they pay you nowadays, like the YouTube policy is that they pay you by watch minutes instead of views. So it's not very profitable to animate because it takes way longer to animate 1 minute of content as opposed to recording 1 minute of content. That's why like vloggers do really well on YouTube. They can record themselves for 10 minutes and just post a new video every day. I can do that. And also I'm well aware that like everybody are on the channel for the animation, which is the thing that takes me the longest to make. So sometimes I would try to put content in between just like so the channel won't stay dead for so long. So it can either be a speed drawing or a stream or something like that. And obviously it's not gonna bring in the views like the animated clips, but that's what I gotta do. Sometimes people are telling me, why are you making that? Go back to making videos. And it's like, okay, I can go back to making just videos and post one thing every 6 months. If that's what you want, like it would make my life easier if I just need to work on animation from morning till sundown.
Yeah, because
but you can't do that on YouTube.
Yeah, no, because I've in talking with animators before, one of them brought up a good point in that a lot of animators will take up multiple jobs at the same time, because it's still like, even if they're not posting on YouTube, most of them, I'm sure. They take multiple jobs at one time because they get paid for those jobs, which pays their bills. And that's kind of an important thing to do, even as an animator, when it takes so much time to do that. So it's like, it's a very, I see it as a very challenging process to try to balance making that money and, making sure you have the time to make that money and keep to your obligations. Because
that's what I would say. It's a problem for most artists. They would have to have, you can't have all your eggs in one basket. You have to spread out. You have to have multiple income resources.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot with a lot of, ever since I got into voice acting, I've noticed that with a lot of different voice actors online. They'll have on their Twitter bio, for instance, voice actor, and then they'll also have other things like author, Twitch streamer, animator, or whatever it is, whatever else it is that they do. They're like 80-90% of the time that I ever notice it, there's always something else paired with it, and that's just what they do, in the public eye. I talked to Psycho Riot in my last episode, and one of the things that was brought up is they, an artist will take commissions, and they have to figure out whether or not those commissions are on a timeline or not, so that they can, budget their time appropriately with that commission and everyone else's, as well as, I'm sure many of them also have day jobs, like a place they go to get a regular paycheck, which can also very much cut into doing, never mind animations, just doing commission, digital art pieces.
So I gotta take into consideration that most of my videos aren't even gonna be monetized because I don't own the copyrights for the songs I'm using. So that's really, I'm just doing it for fun.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
and that's my main time investment.
Right. Like with this stream, I actually forgot to turn it on the first 20-30 minutes, something like that. But there's the website I've used to play the music, which I realized I should have been pointing this out in the last 10 episodes I've been using it. Pretzel.rocks, has a lot of copyright-free music that they put up on there. That's, you just have to link your Google or Twitch account, and you can use the music.
It just doesn't do so well in storytelling animations. Really.
Yeah.
The public domain.
And that's it. But that's also kind of the thing. With the Vampire series, you were using Voltaire's music for the most part.
Yeah.
Aside from the silent, which was, was it Tragic Tantrum?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Just so I've tried once to figure out trying to license a song, and just the process, not even getting to the agreement of doing so. For me, just trying to figure out who to contact is always such a mind-splitting headache that I just
if you're a musician on YouTube, Mina had to deal with that, so I know a little bit about it. But if you're a musician on YouTube and you want to license your music, it's such a process. But that's the only thing musicians have to deal with. Not the only thing, but that's the main annoying thing musicians have to deal with on YouTube. So I don't even mind that I'm not making money off of, if I'm taking someone else's song, I think it's pretty fair for them to make money off of it because it's their song.
Yeah.
So I don't really, I would have loved it if YouTube had a 50-50 system, but okay, fine. Let's just say that the copyrights to the whole video, including the animation, goes to the musician just because it's their song.
Yeah,
I think it's a fair trade.
I think so. I mean, there's a musician I've also talked with early in the show's history, who eventually just made his own. He actually founded his own, I think it was a record label or production company, something like that. Small record label that he can use to claim his own copyright, claim his own music and protect it. As well as anybody else that works with him under his record label, specifically because he wants to protect his income, his work, because people do try to repost it a lot. And it's if anybody else that he knows and trusts that works with him, he's willing to do the same thing for them as well, which is I pretty much applaud him on that. That's finding a solution that was him finding a solution on his own for a rather irritating issue with YouTube. and it seems to be working. But it's very difficult for artists to be able to do that on the online space, because a lot of the art that's done, at least that I see, tends to be of somebody else's IP.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also like, you know, there are people who I have seen a Twitter account once where they will charge people to have watermarks removed from art, which I went, what the flying hell?
Like YouTube has a very good system for identifying songs, not so much when it comes to video, because I have my own videos re-upload all the time, just with like, say, a different song. So if they can find a song that's not monetized, they can totally make money off of my animation, because YouTube just wouldn't recognize it, which, like, it's annoying, but whatever. But like, I would have loved for YouTube to make a system where like you can send the money for the respectable copywriter of the audio, and then I would only make money off of the video, and then we can both benefit from that instead of having everything going to the music, because the music is only half of the video.
Right.
But then, but for now, I'm just looking at it like, well, at least I support, like, I financially supported the musician,
Right.
so it's not all bad.
Now, I guess we'll get into another question before we start wrapping up. Of all the big challenges of making this series, because you said it started as a college project, and I think I either vaguely remember that being a thing as I was thinking about this episode this last week, or it was just one of those things I kind of assumed in that, okay, it was meant to be a one-off, but then it got so much like hype and excitement around it at some point that it was basically inevitable for it to continue into a series. And you pretty much confirmed that with the talking today.
But it actually has like a different reason why it became a series. It had nothing to do with the popularity.
Really?
Yeah, like basically what happens, because it took me about 8 months to make the night while I was working on my college final project. And because it took so long making it, like as you're sitting in front of those characters and you make them every day, you kind of start like imagining more aspects of them. Like you give them personality, you give them backstory, and then it's like, what if I make a clip for this song as well? Because like, oh, that's so fitting with this character I now am connected to. So that's why I started making Land of the Dead and Chapter 3 before it went viral on YouTube. I was just making it because I had those ideas already.
So you were already excited about expanding on it before anybody else got excited for it, basically.
Yeah, like because Land of the Dead also came out before people discovered the night. So when people discovered the night, there already were 2 clips, and the third one was in the making for myself mostly.
Okay. Now, with all that in mind, what do you think are the biggest challenges to making an entire series to begin with?
Well, just the sheer amount of workload for production.
And is it you do all the work by yourself, or do you have other people helping you out? Like,
well, for Ways by That, for Stuck With You, I had one other colorist helping me out, like I still had to do most of it myself. I just like I was testing the water, so to speak. For Ways by That, I had like a small team of colorists and background people and a little bit of in-between animators, character animators. So that one saved me more time, especially the cleanup, but it also cost me a lot of money. So that's why I have to like really think about the if it's worth the expenses.
Right. So
and where I can like cut costs, or what I can do myself and what I should give to other people to save on time, because it really does take a lot of time to produce those episodes, which aren't long. They're like 3 minutes long most of the time. So it's like it just doesn't look practical for expecting people to wait so long for 3 minutes long episodes.
Right.
So I really need to like come out with like, okay, what's the most efficient way to make them come out faster?
Yeah, it's one of the things that I have noticed with a lot of independent animations, or even just animations in general. The list of animators in the credits is huge, and it can. I think that it can become bigger depending on how long that animation is. With yours mostly being like 2, 3, 4 minutes long, you know, it's going to be a lot easier on you than things like Long Gone Gulch, for instance. So many of these like even far-fetched,
Mhm.
it's gonna take a lot of people and a lot of time to get something out like that where you've already got all the sound that you need. You already,
Yeah.
which basically already has all the timing down for you. But you also know exactly how long it's going to be outside of maybe an extended, like, a little scene at the end of something, like, the one where
The
Duke is singing outside.
post-credits.
Yeah, where all that happens is a knock at the door, the sound of the crickets in the background, and the sound of the door opening.
Mhm.
That's all you had to do in terms of sound, and just animate everything else that just gets the point across of, oh, he wants to do this? Okay, now's my time.
Yeah, it's like it's a double-edged kind of sword thing where, yeah, I don't have to deal with directing, voice actor, and casting and stuff like that, which is a lot of work. But at the same time, I won't make money because I don't own the copyright for the music. And B, sometimes there would be like certain lines in the song where I wish I could cut it out because it doesn't like benefit what I'm trying to tell, but that's the song I have to work with.
Right.
So it happened like in chapter 3 when Missy said, the Duke said it's not okay to be gay, and I'm like, no, I don't think Duke would mind. He's pansexual, so he wouldn't say that, but that was a line in the song, so I'm like, well, yes, it's there now.
Now, I guess we'll start wrapping things up at this point, because I'm sure it's getting rather late where you are. It's one of the things that I usually like to ask all of my guests before they go. It's kind of why I had, it's kind of why I tried to get that one question out before Mina left. What I like to ask the guests at the end of the episodes is, what is some advice you would give to somebody who's trying to get into animation or story writing or something like that?
I wouldn't speak much about story writing just because I don't do it professionally.
Right.
I just do it for fun. But with animating, it's like only getting to animating if you really do love making it, because otherwise you would suffer every single moment.
Fair enough. Okay, sorry, I had to take a second to look because the background music just kind of stopped for a moment. I thought my freaking connection froze.
Oh god.
So yeah, I guess that's it, pretty much sound advice. I've talked several times about how animation is a very time-consuming process. I can see why that advice you gave just there was what you
if you love it, you don't see it as time-consuming. You're just like, yeah, I don't mind working hard on it. It's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely a very it's something that's meant for people who are very passionate about it because they want to go for it. Although even
because like every craft is time-consuming.
Yeah,
it's just like how much you like making it.
Because even then, when people are passionate about it, it can very much lead to burnout because they're doing so much of it, or they there might have been other things they weren't quite expecting about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess with that, I'm gonna say the this is like the third or fourth time I've lost my own ability to do English today. What the hell is going on today?
That happens to me all the time. I have an excuse though.
I don't. I just get lost really freaking easy sometimes. But yeah, with that, I've certainly had a lot of fun having this discussion with you today and with Mina while she was around. So yeah, as I've thanked Mina, I thank you just as much for taking the time to do this interview today.
No problem. It was fun.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So with that, both of our guests' Twitters are linked in the description of the video. I need to ask Mina for their YouTube channel just so I can make sure it's also linked in there, like I've got yours linked.
Oh, I can give you the link to that.
Cool. I'm gonna need that because I can edit the description right after we're done. But yes, socials and YouTubes are linked in the description. As well as, like, if you're looking to support the channel, the only way I've got set up right now is an affiliate link with a nerd shop in my area. They will ship to throughout the US. That's about it. Otherwise, go get into Daria's. You have a Patreon, right?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know if Mina has one either.
She has coffee.
Coffee. All right, I'll look for that. Make sure they're both linked in there as well. Go support the guests because they do amazing work.
Go check out Namaste.
Otherwise, yes, I'll be seeing you guys all around for the next episode with whoever that guest will be. I will announce it when I have that info for you. You all have a wonderful weekend.